What's the most American thing ever that if explained to a non-American might just sound crazy? There is a place a short drive from my house that is a firearms, military merchandise store in the front half of the building and in the back half. Just down a short hallway is a barbecue restaurant. It's a magical place. There was a gun and vacuum cleaner shop in my city years ago. Sucks and blows. When I was in Tennessee as an exchange student for a year, I was surprised by the team spirit of each high school. Like how there was a football game every Friday night and almost all of the school was there to cheer them on. That would never happen in my country. Spectating as a high school kid was mainly a way to socialize, meet up, and find out where the parties were. At least when I was in high school, pre-cell phones, that's what we did. No one really watched the actual sport because it's rarely a quality game. The best chicken joints in the hood usually have bulletproof glass. From Detroit. Can confirm. Warehouse-type grocery stores, Costco. Super Saver. My great-uncle from Australia would always take photos and my Korean, non-Seoul, friends thought this was crazy we'd have so much space for a grocery store. Costco is pretty great. I went to law school there. IDK if that's fitting here. But I simply don't get why the grading system is A B C D F. What happened to E? As a South African, what amazed me was the competitors call each other out in advertisements. I couldn't believe it at first, it seemed so unusual. The first rule of advertising is, if you're on top, you don't acknowledge the competition's existence. But if you're not on top, you highlight your strengths, differences from the top company. That's why you'll never see McDonald's talk about a competitor in their commercials. But Burger King and Wendy's do. There sure are a lot of first rules of advertising. The first rule of advertising is there are no rules. Adverts for medication, you've got happy people and stuff in the ad and then, it may cause death. Advertising prescription medications is definitely weird. But the whole may cause thing is from a big list of reported effects. There is no requirement for confirmation or causal evidence. So if you take a prescription hay fever medication and then stub your toe, you can report that as a loss of coordination. This is why there is a drug that includes the warning that it may cause rapid muscle growth, green skin and anger issues. Fraternities, sororities. Yeah, so we just joined brother, sisterhoods when we go off to college with secret rituals and traditions. French guy who lived in NC for a while here. To me, the weirdest thing was all the advertisement for prescription drugs on TV, radio, and online. It's crazy waking up in the morning and suddenly while you're having your morning coffee and cereals, your TV starts spewing stuff about some random meds like they're Tic Tacs you can just arbitrarily decide you need. The worst is honestly the mandatory side effect warning at the end of every ad. I nearly choked on my egg sandwich the first time that voice came up warning people about horrific stuff that could potentially happen if they took the drug. I have lived in quite a few countries around the world. And the US is the only place where I saw this. It's about money. These drug companies want to get their name out there so the old people who have the issues shown will ask for it by name and get them paid. #ChickenFriedSteak. You have not lived if you have never had a chicken fried steak smothered in cream gravy with a roll and mashed potatoes and green beans, and damn it now I'm hungry. Same. Can't wait till quarantine is over and I can go to Cracker Barrel. LMAO. As a Brit, what shocked me was learning about just how huge your college sports games are. A university, college football, soccer, team game here might draw a crowd of a few hundred. A friend who went to the University of Texas told me their American football stadium seats 100. What the actual FCK? You would probably be even more surprised at how big high school sports are. Especially here in Texas. I remember explaining to an Italian friend that in the US we can vote and own a gun and fight in a war at 18 but can't buy a beer, and he was completely at a loss for words. Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Apparently. Edit, I'm American. But I recently learned that much of the world finds PB&J to be an odd combination. I'm Australian and I love them. I'm the only Australian person I've heard of eat them though. I remember eating one for the first time and thought, damn, why aren't these popular? Hospitals buy ad space on billboards. I've never left the country. But we must be the only country that has hospitals advertising like Burger King. Yep. Here, NZ, you just go to your nearest hospital. My best friend struggled for years to live a normal life here because she is bipolar. And a single one of her 3 medications is $1,200 a month. She ended up moving to NZ and becoming a resident and is finally stable, happy, and living a very productive life because your healthcare system isn't insane. Advertising prescription drugs to regular people on TV. Then the following advertisement is a law ad saying that if someone you know has died from that drug to call now for compensation. If you or a loved one have been affected by mesothelioma, you may be entitled to compensation. Suspiciously calm man in 4:3 aspect ratio intensifies. It's okay to walk around with a gun, but not a beer. Edit, 40 of the 50 states do not require any license to carry a firearm openly. Walmart, you can get a haircut, buy a gun and ammo, with your groceries, while getting your car fixed. Nah, they just do tires and oil changes. They don't fix anything. They might break something for you though. I'm from the NL and honestly I have many questions for the US. Most burning on though is why are your toilet stall doors so damn high above the ground? I don't know and I'm still not used to it. The worst is the size of the cracks between the door. The amount of times I've made eye contact with someone while sitting on the toilet is more than I'd like. The age-old question of, are those firecrackers or gunshots? Or a car backfiring? Or someone apparating? Play the national anthem at almost every event. I went to an American elementary school for 6 months back in 1980. I can still recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm from Belgium. Ha! It worked. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Shooting a red sports car into space seemed like a pretty quintessentially American thing to do. How about shooting yourself up in the air in a homemade steam-powered rocket to prove that the Earth is flat and dying as a result of it? This can definitely only happen in USA. The man is Mike Hughes if you're interested. Aerosol cheese. The +5 above speed limit. Still weirded out about refills and sizes of drinks specific to soda. The low bar to get a driver's license. Traveling between major cities, the distances are insane, especially just feeling completely alone in the middle of nowhere. Complimenting strangers. But I like it though. Edit, okay, some of you have said that you received compliments in Europe too. I said this because it was a first big difference I've noticed visiting America. People there are usually very communicative and easy to talk to. I live in Slovakia and everyone just minds their own business here. Health insurance. Premiums. Deductibles. Co-insurance. Copays. Out-of-pocket maximums. In-network. Etc. It's an insane amount of knowledge that you need to have to make a good decision about your health coverage. And no one teaches you any of this shit. You have to go and learn it yourself on the internet. This is intentionally done by health insurance companies to defraud the American people. They keep the system as complicated and expensive as possible. Then they lobby, advertise to keep the system the way it is. Or, if someone does try to change it, they make sure it's changed in a way that benefits them. Obama's ACA was basically neutral in terms of helping people. But insurance companies made a shitload more money. Instead of discussing this, most American politicians simply argue about increasing federal healthcare spending versus decreasing federal healthcare spending, and never dig any deeper than that, ignoring the fact we already spend more than anyone else in the world and receive less. I've visited the US a couple of times. I'm a South African Brit, and the TV adverts are like nothing I've ever experienced anywhere else. The crazy political adverts where they do nothing but insult the opposition. The medicine, drug adverts. Good grief. Those lists of side effects. It makes the drug sound more dangerous than whatever it's meant to treat. My fiance's favorite though was a petrol advert, gas. To you guys I guess. It made it sound as if filling your tank with their brand was the ticket to a better life. That advert had American flags everywhere. Bald eagles. And the best tagline in the world, buy a tank full of freedom. That was a few years ago and we still joke about going to get a tank full of freedom when we fill up our car. The crazy amount of food you guys serve. Like. The French fries you serve as a side and large glass of Pepsi is enough to fill me up. When purchasing an item, the listed price is actually not the amount you'll have to pay at checkout. It will be more. Wait. For everything? Like if you go to IKEA and buy a cupboard or something. The price on it isn't the actual one. I knew restaurants do that because of your weird tipping culture. But if it's everywhere, then that's just bizarre. They don't add sales tax until you get to the register. Proms and homecoming dances, I don't know if they are one and the same or how many there are. Americans make such a huge deal out of it that pass around awards for whoever is the prettiest, dances the best. The whole thing just seems so bizarre and out of this world to a European that I have to ask if any of you can explain in detail why they are the way that they are. Lol. We just organize with the teachers some school parties that are usually in big clubs once or twice a year, and they turn a blind eye on alcohol because you guys are also really strict on alcohol until you're 21. Another kinda odd thing is when you guys are allowed to drink, you just go all over the news in Mediterranean places for causing trouble. Their 5 de Mayo celebrations. I have never met a Mexican who celebrates this holiday. Lol. Florida. I studied in Chicago for a month at 17. And I was so confused as to why all your bread was sweet. I get migraines if I eat too much sugar, and I basically lived off of chips, mac and cheese, and the salad bar in our accommodation. On the 4th of July I just ate a bowl of carrots dipped in ranch dressing as I didn't eat meat at the time. It still had enough sugar to knock me out. Also, your painkiller bottles are huge. I had to buy ibuprofen and the smallest bottle was like 100 pills. I haven't finished it yet, and that trip was 2 years ago. I live in a right-to-hire state. That basically means that, with a few exceptions, my employer can fire me at any time without reason. With zero notice. It is possible to get a job with a contract. But those are rare unless you have a very high-paying position. This is quite common in the USA from what a lawyer told me. I've read stories on this site of other places that are not like this. I always thought this was normal before. In Sweden, 1 to 3 months notice period both ways is the standard. Both employers and employees like having some time to find a replacement. Not an American Brit, but when I watch live streaming Premier League on American channels, all legal of course, I honestly find the advertisements so strange. They're so aggressive? I don't know if that's the right word, but honestly it's a fun experience. The car adverts are the best. You should see local ads. They're hilarious. I was on a night train in Italy from Rome to Venice. I explained beef jerky and he asked me why we would do that to steak. And I was like, blame the cowboys. To preserve meat during trips that lasted weeks. I'm still shocked y'all pay for an ambulance ride. Like what, the FCK? I read somewhere that it's actually cheaper in some cases to call an Uber than an ambulance. Invention of the week, Amble Uber.